In this episode, we explore a Buddhist discourse that quietly overturns one of the strongest assumptions people make about themselves and others: the idea that worth and purity come from birth, status, or identity. In the Assalāyana Sutta, the Buddha responds to a young scholar sent to defend social hierarchy, not with argument for argument's sake, but with careful questions that point back to lived experience. This teaching matters today because we still measure ourselves and others by labels, at work, in families, and even in spiritual spaces. And those measurements often shape stress, pride, or exclusion. As you listen, you might let go of trying to figure something out and instead allow the words to settle. This is an invitation into a quiet, reflective space where understanding can unfold naturally. In this discourse, the Buddha is staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, a quiet monastery offered by the lay supporter Anathapindika. At that time, a large group of Brahmins from many regions have gathered in the city. They are concerned about a teaching that is spreading, one that challenges a belief deeply rooted in their social and religious world. They have heard that the Buddha teaches that purity is not limited to one caste, but is possible for all. This idea unsettles them. According to the Brahmin tradition of the time, Brahmins are believed to be the highest caste, pure by birth, superior by nature, and uniquely descended from Brahma, the creator god. Other castes, they say, are inferior by comparison. The Brahmins begin to wonder who might be able to confront the Buddha on this claim. Their attention turns to a young student named Assalāyana. Though only 16 years old, he is highly accomplished, shaven-headed, disciplined, and deeply learned in the Vedas, grammar, cosmology, and the traditional marks of greatness. Surely, they think, he is capable of disputing with Gautama the contemplative. When the Brahmins approach him, Assalāyana hesitates. He knows the Buddha's reputation. He says plainly that those who speak true Dhamma are hard to argue with, and that he does not feel able to challenge him. But the Brahmins persist, pressing him again and again, warning him not to shrink from the task. At last, seeing no way to refuse, Assalāyana agrees. Together with a large group of Brahmins, he goes to see the Buddha. After exchanging respectful greetings, he sits to one side and presents the central claim directly. He explains what the Brahmins believe: that Brahmins alone are superior, pure, fair in complexion, and uniquely born from Brahma's mouth, true heirs of the Creator. The Buddha listens calmly. Then he begins, not with anger or dismissal, but with a simple observation. He points out that Brahmin women are plainly seen menstruating, becoming pregnant, giving birth, and nursing children. Brahmins, like all others, are born through the birth canal. And yet, despite this obvious fact, they claim a divine and exceptional origin. Assalāyana responds carefully. Even so, he says, the Brahmins still hold to their belief. The Buddha then shifts the inquiry. He asks Assalāyana whether he has heard of distant lands, places like Yana and Cambodia, where society is not divided into 4 castes at all, but only into masters and slaves, and where a person might move from one status to another over a lifetime. Assalāyana acknowledges that this is true. The Buddha gently presses the point. If social rank can change in other places, what firm ground is there for claiming that one group is inherently superior everywhere by birth alone? Still, Assalāyana replies, the Brahmins continue to believe as they do. The Buddha then turns to ethics, how people act, speak, and think. He asks whether only people of certain castes fall into suffering after death, when they kill, steal, lie, harm others, act out of greed, ill will, and wrong view. Or whether this applies equally to anyone who lives unwholesomely? Assalāyana answers honestly. Anyone from any caste who acts in these harmful ways can reap painful results. The Buddha follows with the mirror image of the question. Is it only Brahmins who can live ethically, refraining from violence, dishonesty, cruelty, and greed, and so be reborn in a fortunate destination? Or can people of any caste do this? Again, Assalāyana agrees. Ethical conduct and its results are open to all. The Buddha continues in the same patient rhythm. He asks whether only Brahmins are capable of cultivating a heart of goodwill, what in Pali is called metta, a boundless friendliness, free from hatred and ill will, or whether anyone, regardless of birth, can develop such a mind. Assalāyana concedes that all can. Then the Buddha uses a strikingly ordinary example. He asks whether only Brahmins can wash dirt from their bodies, whether only they can go to a river with soap or scrub and cleanse themselves. Assalāyana answers that anyone can do this. The implication is clear. Physical cleanliness, mental purity, ethical behavior, and spiritual development do not belong to one birth group alone. To drive the point home, the Buddha offers a powerful simile. Imagine, he says, a king ordering people of high birth to make fire using fine woods, and people of low birth to make fire using scraps from troughs or refuse heaps. Would the fire from one group burn any differently than the fire from the other? Assalāyana answers without hesitation. Fire is fire. Wherever it comes from, it has flame, heat, and light, and it can perform its function. In the same way, the Buddha suggests, wisdom, virtue, and liberation are not diminished or enhanced by the social background of the person who develops them. The Buddha then explores the idea of lineage itself. He asks Assalāyana to consider children born from mixed unions between noble warriors and Brahmins. Are such children partly one and partly the other? Assalāyana agrees they resemble both parents. But when the Buddha compares this to the breeding of animals, like a mule born from a horse and a donkey, Assalāyana sees the difference. Human identity does not work the same way as animal classification. Next, the Buddha offers a subtle but decisive example. He asks Assalāyana to imagine two brothers, born of the same mother. One is learned and initiated into sacred knowledge, the other is not. Which one would receive honor at religious ceremonies? Assalāyana answers, the learned one. Then the Buddha adds a final refinement. Suppose the learned brother behaves unethically, while the unlearned one is virtuous and of good character. Which one should be honored then? Assalāyana answers clearly, the virtuous one. At this point, the Buddha gently summarizes what has happened. First, Assalāyana relied on birth. Then he relied on learning and ritual. Finally, setting both aside, he has arrived at the same conclusion the Buddha teaches, that purity is measured by conduct and understanding, not by caste. Assalāyana falls silent. His posture collapses inward, head lowered, shoulders slumped. He has no reply. Seeing this, the Buddha recounts an ancient story. Long ago, he says, 7 revered Brahmin seers held the same belief about caste superiority. Another sage, Deval of the Dark, heard of this and came to challenge them. When they cursed him, expecting him to be destroyed, he instead grew more radiant and inspiring. Shocked, they realized their assumptions were flawed. Devala questioned them carefully. Did they know the purity of their ancestry, generation by generation? Did they know the caste of the being that entered the womb at conception, a being known in the texts as a Gandhaba, the consciousness taking rebirth? To all these questions, the seers had to answer no. In the end, they admitted they did not truly know who they were. The Buddha concludes by saying that if even those ancient seers could not defend their claim to superiority, how could Assalāyana now do so? At last, Assalāyana speaks, not in debate, but in gratitude. He praises the Buddha for making the teaching clear, comparing it to setting upright what was overturned or bringing a lamp into darkness. He declares his refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the community of practitioners. The heart of this discourse is simple and quietly radical. The Buddha does not replace one hierarchy with another. He dissolves the basis of hierarchy altogether. What matters is not where you are born, but how you live. Not what name you inherit, but what qualities you cultivate. In daily life, this teaching invites careful reflection. When we judge ourselves or others by background, status, education, or identity, we are repeating the same error the Buddha exposed. When we attend instead to actions, kindness, honesty, restraint, and understanding, we align with a standard that applies equally to everyone. Purity, in this sense, is not something we are given. It is something we practice, moment by moment, through the choices we make with body, speech, and mind. What this teaching leaves us with is a simple but demanding reflection. Purity, dignity, and growth are not inherited. They are practiced. The Buddha's questions gently turn our attention away from labels and toward actions, intentions, and qualities of heart. In daily life, this can show up in small ways. How we speak to someone we disagree with, how we judge our own worth, or how quickly we place ourselves above or below others. You might take a moment today to notice where identity or status quietly shapes your reactions, and see what happens when you return instead to kindness, restraint, or honesty. Even a brief pause of goodwill toward yourself or another person can echo this teaching. If these reflections are supportive, you're welcome to return to Still Mind Suttas for more slow, grounded encounters with early Buddhist texts, shared simply for ongoing practice and understanding.